2017, it is estimated that 1% of the population is asexual. This means that in the US alone, there are 3,227,620 people who identify as asexual. However, this low percentage can be attributed to many things, most of all, a lack of knowledge and basic understanding of what asexuality is. Asexuality is defined as not experiencing sexual attraction. Unlike celibacy or abstinence, asexuality is not something that you choose. It is a key factor in who you are. Asexuals can still have relationships if they so choose, as asexuality is a lack of sexual attraction, not romantic attraction. As David J., one of the most prolific members of the asexual community, explains.
An asexual person is someone who does not experience sexual attraction. So if you think about it, there's some people who really like sex a lot. There's other people who like sex, but not quite as much. It makes sense that at the bottom of the spectrum, there would be people who aren't interested in sexuality at all. And the important thing to understand about our community is that we have the same desire for connection as everyone else. We just don't have a desire to express that connection sexually.
However, all asexuals are different.
I'm Julie Sandra Decker, and I'm an author and activist and educator for asexuality. I identify as aromantic and asexual, and those terms they're separate, but for me, they kind of go together as well. I'm asexual because nobody is sexy to me. Nobody makes me think I'm sexually attracted to that. Aromantic is very similar for me in that I don't find anybody romantically attractive. There are aromantic people who want partners. There are asexual people who want sex. But it's about an attraction, I guess, for a lot of us. We say, I don't have that attraction. And I have very close friendships with people, but I wouldn't categorize our relationship as romantic, even though it's very close. So I'm like a non-partner seeking aromantic asexual woman. I used to think that those two things were not separate, but I can see from so many other people who maybe they have romantic attraction but not sexual attraction, they absolutely are separate experiences. It's just, for me, it was always sort of lumped into one thing. I'm not into that. Nope. So that's where I fall.
One of the obstacles asexuals face is their sense of belonging. While many would assume that asexuals are a welcomed part of the LGBT community, this is not always the case.
I think asexual people have sometimes been a little homophobic in the way that we have talked about it in mainstream circles, and that is very disappointing to me. We have also had LGBTQ people, sometimes in organizations, sometimes just individuals, telling us we don't belong there, primarily on the basis of the perception that we don't experience oppression or any significant marginalization on basis of our sexual orientation. I believe that is definitely not true. And I think there's also a misconception that asexual people just want to go into spaces that we don't belong in, and that we want to make those spaces about ourselves. We want to co-opt narratives that don't belong to us. But that's, first of all, not true. And second, we offer a lot of perspectives and resources. We're not just there to take, we can also give. And one of the major things I think asexual people can give is kind of a nuanced and complicated understanding of romantic orientations, because we talk a lot about that in our communities. And some people find that very useful. We have cultivated some language about intimacy that turns out to be so important for other people that maybe never thought of it on those terms. So our perspectives can be very helpful, I think, for people in any stripe of the LGBTQ community.
Some asexuals have had experiences with the LGBT community that have wounded them deeply and left them feeling ostracized.
Hi, my name is Virgilin. You can call me Fergie, and I'm asexual. In terms of experience, there have been a couple times. There's a time where my group members for a project started talking about asexuality and being non-binary, and all that comes along with the LGBTQ plus. And they just said that they weren't real and that people were being extra, which was ironic coming from a gay person such as himself, which kind of hit me even more, because if I'm not even accepted by other queer people, then I don't know if I can be that open with anybody else. Look them in the eye. I couldn't even respond to anything they were saying, so I was just basically really quiet the whole time we were working on that project, because everybody else in that group laughed along with him. So I thought, like, this is definitely not the space for me. I need to get out as soon as possible. And it hurt because just seconds before that, I was laughing with them about like different things. It just really cut me off from them.
Without a safe space to go, many asexuals are left feeling alone in a world that does not see them as real people. However, asexuality is slowly but surely becoming recognized through its steadily increasing presence in the media.
I've definitely heard about it more now. It's in more books, it's in more social media now. There's actual communities where we're all coming together and being more vocal about it. So I think we're going at the right direction because we're all helping each other in the community now.
It's been slowly but surely referenced in more mainstream contexts. I wouldn't say that it's particularly common, but even comparing today to 5 years ago, we're seeing more people who have heard of that or don't have a negative context or aren't going to make an amoeba joke when you tell them. They may have like a media reference. They may remember somebody on a television show that is canonically or assumed to be asexual.
Kiss me.
It's not like that. I'm not like that. I'm just not interested in sex.
Being a vampire made you this way?
No. I've always been like this.
And they may say, oh, you're asexual like so-and-so. Primarily it's going to be a TV show that they saw, but hopefully they didn't see like House MD or something, because then they think it's a disease. There was an asexuality episode of House in season 7, and the plot was terrible because the first half of it had actual educational information about asexuality, which I was pleasantly surprised. It was like, Dr. Wilson has a patient who came in for something else, and then he asks her, okay, are you on birth control? And she says no. And he said, oh, so are you trying to conceive? And she says no. He says, I'm sorry, I thought you were married. And she's like, yeah, I am, but we're asexual. And he's like, so he educates himself, clue.
You know that close to 1% of the population identifies as asexual. I have a patient who's asexual.
Is she a giant pool of algae?
It's a valid sexual orientation.
$100 says I can find a medical reason why she doesn't want to have sex.
And ultimately what ended up happening was he claimed that everyone wants sex unless they're dead, dying, or lying. And he determined that the man had a pituitary tumor that was making it so that he did not have sexual feelings. And on top of that, his asexual wife had been lying about being asexual the whole time to make her husband not feel bad about not being able to satisfy her. So one was sick and one was a liar.
Hormone levels are normal. This woman seems perfectly healthy. What does it matter if she says she's asexual?
It's the fundamental drive of our species. Sex is healthy.
You're gonna have to accept she just doesn't want sex.
Lots of people don't have sex. The only people who don't want it are either sick, dead, or lying. Well, I just gotta do a standard battery of tests. Blood, urine, EEG.
Is that really necessary for a free flu shot?
You lose. Blood work shows high levels of prolactin.
Are there any side effects to the treatment?
There will be behavioral changes.
You mean the treatment will make me want to have sex? What if I don't want the treatment?
A girl has needs.
Not only did it send a terrible message, but I heard, like, because a lot of asexual people were excited when they saw, like, the previews for, oh my god, they're going to cover asexuality on House. And some people, of course, were worried that it was going to go like that. It did. And I saw at least one person talking in the Avon forums about how they had a friend who used to be supportive before she saw that episode, and then she called her crying, begging her to go to the doctor for her tumor. So it has real consequences when media does things like this, when they represent it poorly. So people are like, oh, it's just a TV show. What are you worried about? Well, we're worried about that.
Although we still have a long way to go, it is my hope that one day everyone will recognize asexuality for what it really is. A legitimate sexuality that deserves our understanding, inclusion, and respect.